machine करेंगे that would be our Kioptrix level 4. Welcome to the Craw Security server. You can see over here, and we can see the IP address, which is 192.168.0.112, and we have a login page. And in the back end, I can see through the net discover we identified the IP address on the server side. So first of all, in the side by side, I'm going to use nmap, sc, sv, d4, or मेरा IP address. So over here, we can execute each and everything, but over here we have a login forum. Let's see the source code. If you can find any hard-coded issue, vulnerability, case-sensitive informations. ये कभी-कभार hard-coded issue का मतलब क्या होता है कि कुछ ना data जो server side में backend में store हुआ. So there are many other techniques that we can use it for information gathering. So one by one, we're gonna look for each and everything. So we have a login forum, but the first thing we need is the nmap result. So almost has done, and we have an output. So in the backend side, अगर मैं display में देखूँ, there is port 22 is running, which is open, SSH, and the version. So they are using RSA encryption key. Port 80 is open there, and the HTTP Ubuntu server PHP 5.2.4, and we can see there's a top of the sites. 139 is open there, which is a Samba server, and 445 is also there, which is a Samba. And we have a proper Samba version over here. You can see they have the NetBIOS name is Kioptrix level 4. Net username is your unknown, netmap the computer name is Kioptrix. So otherwise we can use NBT scan also to identify. NBT scan, it's all about NetBIOS scan. So अगर आप यहाँ पे देखो NBT scan से आप identify कर सकते हो कि मेरे local network में कितने Samba servers हैं, यानी कि shared servers. तो अगर आप यहाँ पे देखो 192.168.0.12 के सारे servers आ गए, इसमें से आपका यहाँ पे 105 भी आ रहा है और आपका 102 भी आ रहा है. So the most important part, it's all about the Samba enumeration. और यहाँ पे पोर्ट नंबर 139 ही ओपन है और 425 ओपन. तो यहाँ पे हम लोग क्या करते हैं, डेटा को एनुमरेट करेंगे. आज का टॉपिक है Samba enumeration. तो Samba enumeration की अगर हम बात करें, अभी 139 और 425, तो यहाँ पे Samba का मतलब क्या होता है, सर्वर मैसेज ब्लॉक यानी कि फाइल शेयरिंग की बात हो रही है. NBT स्कैन आपका मेजरली फाइंड करने के लिए होता है कि उस लोकल नेटवर्क में कोई Samba सर्वर तो नहीं है. तो मुझे यहाँ पे देखना है कि वहाँ पे 2 Samba सर्वर है, जिसमें से 192 ये मेरा होगा. तो सबसे ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट क्या है कि आई हैव टू आइडेंटिफाई द सर्विसेज. So अगर मैं देखूँ यहाँ पे Kioptrix are running in the backend, and what we're gonna do, we're gonna use SMB map. SMB map जो आपका यूज होता है shared files देखने के लिए यूज होता है. If you remember in your CH part in enumeration topic, SMB map is basically used for enumerating the Samba shared folders. -h host and the IP address. By defaultly ये पोर्ट 4445 ही लेता है. अदरवाइज अगर यहाँ पे शेयर फोल्डर्स हैं तो ये आपको लोकल सर्वर में दिखा देगा. तो यहाँ पे अगर आप देखो, यहाँ पे प्रिंट्स है और IPC है जो कि आपका Samba है, और यहाँ पे नो एक्सेस दे रहा है. There is no access on the Samba server. But there are many other techniques that we can use it for enumeration part. For example, if there is no access, for example, there is no shared folders, you can verify with your own local server also. You can go to another location, you can use SMB over here. 102. So 102 was the IP address, I guess. Yes, 102 was the IP address. So we are on the server side, but over here they can ask me a password, a registered username password and an anonymous password. एनोनिमस पासवर्ड तब आपका यूज होता है जब आपके वहाँ पे कोई यूजर नेम एंड पासवर्ड सेटिंग हो. No, there is no anonymous login available over there. So there is a username and a password. So let's write default creation password. Nope. So we are not able to access on the Samba server because there is no access available over there. But what else we can do? We can try null session to get access of a server side. Null session जो आपका यूज होता है वो आपके कभी-कभार अटैकर्स ड्राइवर्स को एनुमरेट करने के लिए यूज करते हैं सर्वर में. तो जिसमें से मैं यहाँ पे यूज करूंगा आरपीसी क्लाइंट की बात करेंगे. Remote procedure call client, which is basically used for communicating the client to the server drivers. So यहाँ पे जो मैं null session लूँगा, null session क्या होता है कि without username and password के access लेगा और इससे attacker users को enumerate करता है और उसके domain names को enumerate करता है. जैसे कि -u जो इनके users के लिए stand होता है मैं यहाँ पे blank रखने वाला हूँ and the IP address. Now it's asking the password. So I doesn't know the password, hit enter and we are in on the driver side. मैं यहाँ पे SMB के बाद SMB क्लाइंट भी यूज कर सकता था बट यहाँ पे क्या है कि वहाँ पे कोई फाइल्स है ही नहीं तो एक्सेस करने का कोई फायदा ही नहीं. SMB क्लाइंट के थ्रू आप उस सर्वर के साथ कम्युनिकेट कर सकते हो. आरपीसी क्लाइंट के साथ आप नल सेशन लेने की कोशिश कर सकते हो जिसमें आपको यहाँ पे मिल चुका है और इसके थ्रू आप क्या कर सकते हो. यू कैन आइडेंटिफाई द ड्राइवर्स. फॉर एग्जांपल द मोस्ट कॉमन थिंग व्हिच यू लुक फॉर ओवर दिस enum the users, enum domain groups, enum groups or your enum domains, enumerate domain users, groups, analyze or domain. So let's try with the first one. Through the null session, you can see that we have some users over there. Username nobody, Robert, Root, John, Jonathan. And we have some buffer memory. Let's try Dub also. Directory scanner. We have cgi.bin which is 403 forbidden, 502 which is showing us image file, index file, index.php file, logout file, member file. Let's see the member file. No, that's not one. Server status. Oh, so it's a forbidden. First of all, this is forbidden. See, the source code is important. The image file, and we have HTTP John, a directory over there. Entering the directory John. One directory is disabled. No need to scan. You need -w if you want to scan it anyway. -w जो आपका यूज होता है वो आपका वर्ड लिस्ट के लिए होता है. और यहाँ पे जो जॉन दे रखा है ये देखो आरपीसी क्लाइंट के थ्रू आप आइडेंटिफाई कर सकते हो कि कितने यूजर्स उसके सर्वर में. बट वो सांबा सर्वर होना चाहिए बट कभी कभार ये नहीं निकलता आपका. या सिंपली आप यहाँ पे देखो यू कैन एनुमरेट द डोमेन यूजर्स आल्सो. There's no domain user. Let's see domain allies. No. Domain names. What happened? Stop. Yeah, so where we were on the domain users. तो यहाँ पे जो यूजर्स है वो आपके नोबडी है, रॉबर्ट है, रूट है, जॉन है, लोने फेरेट है। अदरवाइज अगर आप यहाँ पे देखो जो आपके एनएससी स्क्रिप्ट्स है, एनएसई स्क्रिप्ट्स, यहाँ पे सारे के सारे आपके एनएससी स्क्रिप्ट आ जाएंगे, बट यहाँ पे सबसे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है कि ये एनमैप के एनएससी स्क्रिप्ट है। और अगर आप यहाँ पे देखो सांबा इनम जो कि आपकी एनिमेशन की बात होती है, and you just need to copy this one. If you know the function of locate, you can simply grab those things. Domain shares, group shares, process shares, services, sessions, shares over there, and the users. First of all, read the description. What is actually the mean over there? Attempt to enumerate the users on the remote Windows system with a match information as possible through the two different techniques, and both MSRPC, and which works on the port number 445 and 139. Pen testers who is examining services may wish to determine the purpose of the server by getting a list of who has access to it. The tester might be a better idea. One by one, all the things away. And the most important part is to check the port number and the services. Same thing with the different techniques. Let's use asterisk mark and remove the. Let's try this. It's going to try all the SMB enumeration techniques on the specific server to identify group share the services in each individual, which was like this. It's going to try the domain enum, going to try the group enum, the processes, the services, the session, the share, and the users. So let's see how much time it's going to take. It's going to take some 6 to 8 seconds. तो सबसे ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट जो चीज़ है आपको यहाँ पे आइडेंटिफाई करना है कि वहाँ पे कौन कौन से सर्विसेज चल रहे हैं बैकएंड में और कौन कौन से यूजर्स। So it's going to take some time over here. So let's go for the test. Okay, 16 seconds. So over here, let it be over there. So यहाँ पे हमें users मिल गए हैं nobody, Robert, Cat, John और Oliver. तो जो यहाँ पे users यहाँ पे जो nobody दे रखा है, ये आपके default system users होता है first of all. अगर आप यहाँ पे देखो Cat, etc, password, these are your system local users. जिसमें से अगर आप यहाँ पे देखो Daemon bin, synchronization man, proxy, another nobody. Nobody is also a local user. So over here, you have to understand this. सबसे पहले इंफॉर्मेशन गैदरिंग करो कि जितने इंफॉर्मेशन मिल रही है आपको उसके बाद आप अटैक करो. For example, you can see this is a Samba server. Samba server में अगर आप यहाँ पे देखो यूजर नेम एंड पासवर्ड, तो सबसे पहले तो मैं यहाँ पे देखता हूँ कि ये लॉगिन फॉर्म है और यहाँ पे कौन कौन से पोर्ट ओपन है, 139 445 ओपन है. ठीक है, तो as an attacker what I can do, I can simply think about the explanation. So backslash done. So over here I can see that there is fetching some data on the server side. For example, MySQL num rows supply argument is not valid MySQL. तो बैकएंड में MySQL चल रहा है यहाँ पे और जो रिसोर्स ही ग्रैब कर रहा है वो आपका var www check check login.php से grab और check login.php के आपके database configuration files. So मैं अगर यहाँ पे सिंपल सिंगल कोड और फंक्शन 1 is equal to 1 माइनस माइनस स्पेस चलाता हूँ तो क्या होता है? अब something went wrong. Your member account page please contact you. तो यहाँ पे ये काम नहीं कर रहा. या मैं एक काम करता हूँ यहाँ पे हैश लगा देता हूँ क्योंकि we need to understand the bypassing part. Again I am having the same problem. बट कभी कभार क्या होता है कि एसक्यूएल इंजेक्शन में अगर आपके पास कोई भी यूजर फील्ड है जैसे कि रॉबर्ट हो गया, रूट हो गया, जॉन हो गया, लोनेफेरेट हो गया, इफ यू नो सम यूजर्स यू कैन प्लेस द यूजर्स ओवर देयर फॉर एग्जांपल रॉबर्ट और यहाँ पे आप एसक्यूएल की बाईपास कमांड शीट लिख सकते हैं. So we have access but something went wrong. Let's try Robert again. Now we have some hashes. And the user Robert. But over here we can see username parameter with Robert. So let's see backslash. Okay. Single quote, double quote. Let's change the value Robert with John. No values 25%. Let's try with the user John over there. So I'm going to use single quote or function 1 is equal to 1 minus minus space. Now we have username John with the password my name is John. Let's try with the user loneferret. We have an error on the server side. We have a proper error. So we have some conditions like hash over here. Let's try to identify the hash. Hash hyphen identifier. No type of hash. Let's try with the Google. Yeah, it's a basic for hash. So it's just like a junk word. So but we have user John over there. The user John with the password is my name is John. So what we can do, we have the port number 22 is open over here. So over here, I'm going to do SSH user John @ and the IP address. Now it's asking the password. So we have the password over here, which is my name is John over here. So over here, we can see that we are on the server and we got shell is a place so we can scale it up. So they are saying type question mark for help for listen allowed command. Okay, so we have some restrictions over here on the server side. तो ये जो कमांड दे रखे हैं आपकी cd clear echo exit help lpath ls ये आपकी लिमिटेड कमांड्स हैं जो कि आपके यूज हो सकते हैं. कभी कभार एक यूजर को एक्सेस देने के लिए काम आता है. तो मैं अगर यहाँ पे सिंपल डॉटमेल चलते हैं. डॉटमेल कैन फायर. So over here, let's go. If the commands are limited, you can break the jail shell. First of all, jail shell means restriction area. और यहाँ पे हमें restriction commands दे रहे हैं. So सबसे ज़्यादा important यहाँ पे क्या है? You have to check all the things one by one over here to enumerate or escalate the privilege. So for this case, what we're gonna do? We're gonna try to enumerate the services. Or the escalation part. So the most important part is to understand how does it look like. So in this scenario, the most important part is understand how we can break the jail shell with the help of post exploitation part. पोस्ट एक्सप्लोरेशन फेज में आपको पूरा आइडेंटिफाई करना है कि इसमें कौन कौन से सर्विसेज चल रहे हैं और उसमें मैं क्या क्या यूज कर सकता हूँ. For the scenarios, you can simply check one by one. So what I'm going to do, we're going to use a command called echo os bin bash because we don't have the permission to use Python. We can have echo command as per over here. To the echo system, we're going to call the OS part, operating system part. Echo OS system execution. Call bin bash. Bin bash is your TTY terminal, a proper terminal, because यहाँ पे shell है हमारा. और मैं अगर यहाँ पे bin bash करता हूँ तो मेरे पास एक TTY आ जाएगा, यानी कि पूरी Kioptrix का पैनल. Payato is very helpful for pen testing part, and the Botmilk. These two websites are one of the best ones. Or you can use GT Goblin. So over here you can see the server was, we have a proper TTY. But think about this one. In this machine, you're gonna learn about exploiting services which is running as root. Today's topic. The famous Eternal Blue and Samba Cry exploit assembly services which is generally run as root. With the one example, an attacker can get remote code execution on local privilege as well. It is heavily used as spirit ransomware across the globe. You should always check if the web server and the mail server and database services are running as root. Many times a web admin run these services as root and forget about the security issue. It might cause the security privilege services with the locally and not exposed by. So you can use netstat ANTUP. It shows all the ports which are open and listening. So you can see over here, we're going to run netstat ANTUP. And in the background, we can see 139 was running, but 3306 also running, which is your MySQL server. Or you can simply check for PS AUX grep root. It will show you the services which is running as root services. Compare this one. The MySQL is running as root services, and through the next side we can examine this. Sometimes the vulnerable applications are we not aware about, and those are also running in the backend. So in the PIA2, if you check for the clear text password, for example, access application services, applications are installed, services are misconfigured, what jobs are scheduled, username and passwords, communication, NIC, what are the user hosts are communicating with the services, confidential informations, etc password group files, can private PRP can be found over here. So over here, what can be found in the bad directory? Any setting files hidden on the website in the database configuration? Is there any files in the log files? See. But over here, we're gonna check what we can find in the log files. So there are log, mail, spoofle, MySQL also, some cat.dscp files, so where.www files, any settings on the misconfiguration files on the server side. So let's try with this one. So over here, what I can see, or on the where.www, I can see there was some file like checklogin.php file, which is we have the read permission. And you can see on image directory, you can see there's a cartoon.image, there's a John directory with John.php file, and there's a robot directory which is robot.php file. So these commands are really helpful. And you can see in the check login.php, you can see we can have a proper function. Let's read this one. Okay, I have to go to that specific where directory first of all. So, or we can use $/ to read that file. Okay, I have to go with that. CD where yes, check login.php cat. So check login.php फाइल बेसिकली आपके डेटाबेस की कॉन्फ़िगरेशन फाइल्स होते हैं जो कि हम यूज करते हैं डेटाबेस कनेक्टिविटी के लिए. तो अगर मैं यहाँ पे देखूँ, यहाँ पे MySQL का यूजर नेम एंड पासवर्ड दे रखा है. So what I can do, I can simply log in with MySQL without a username and password. So यहाँ पे जो इम्पोर्टेंट चीज है, मैं अगर बात करूँ, यहाँ पे MySQL में विदाउट पासवर्ड यानी कोई पासवर्ड ही नहीं है, तो मैं यहाँ पे लॉग इन कर सकता हूँ विद MySQL-u root-p पासवर्ड, लेकिन पासवर्ड ब्लैंक है. सबसे ज़्यादा मिसकॉन्फ़िगरेशन पार्ट. You can try many other techniques that can be used over here, one by one. For example, you can use show databases because we are on the server side. You have to be familiar with the MySQL. Show databases to check all the databases on the server side. So I'm going to use the MySQL function because यहाँ पे information schema है जो कि architecture है, और यहाँ पे members directories हैं, और यहाँ पे MySQL है. MySQL is all about the functionality. So I'm going to use MySQL. Database and change, so show tables. So if you guys are not familiar with the MySQL, so I will say visit W3 school. You can see MySQL. तो यहाँ पे सारे के सारे MySQL के फंक्शंस आपको मिल जाएंगे जो आप यूज कर सकते हो इसे वन बाय वन ओवर देयर. तो सबसे ज्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट क्या है, आपको हर एक चीज पता होनी चाहिए यहाँ पे. यहाँ पे जो मैं करने वाला हूँ सिंपल वी आर ऑन द सर्वर साइड. सो यहाँ पे दे रखा है कॉमन प्रिविलेजेस, डीबी, हेल्प कैटेगरी, हेल्प कीवर्ड्स. तो मैं यहाँ पे देखने वाला हूँ, गूगल में सर्च करने वाला हूँ कि MySQL से कैसे प्रिविलेज एस्केलेशन कर सकते हैं. MySQL प्रिविलेज एस्केलेशन पार्ट. MySQL based database including MySQL, MariaDB, and Perker is affected by the privilege escalation vulnerability, which can let attacker who gain access to the MySQL system for further escalate their privileges as root using them. So we can try to check one by one all the things. It's all about research. So over here we can see there are some applications which is running one by one. तो मैं आपको बता देता हूँ कि जो प्रिविलेज पार्ट है आपके इसमें MySQL में, तो you can use the function command. You have to understand the MySQL functions. So select star from function. So in the function library, you can see what are the services which can run. We can see system execution. Through this system execution, we can escalate or we can simply execute any commands on the server side. MySQL privilege escalation part. So all you guys have to read about one by one all the things. You can simply try create database, exploit, create user, test user at the local host identified by the test, select host user password from MySQL user, and you can simply use exploit, grant all privileges on the test user. You can simply give all the permission to the user. But over here, we're gonna try something. We're gonna try to get privilege escalation with the help of system execution. So through the system execution, I'm gonna give a permission to the local user John. So over here, you need to understand the system execution permission. Select system-execution. You have to use user mod, which is your user permission change. You have to user mod -a assign G with the group admin with the username John. Single quote, bracket, semicolon. So through the system execution, I'm giving a permission to the user John, and I'm adding user John on the group admin. So if he get to the admin group, he will get all the permission on the server side. Now I'll execute it. Exit. Let's check sudo -l with the password. My name is John. And we can see that we have all the permissions of the application part. So if I do sudo su, I'm root. Congratulations, you got root. But the most important part is to understand how the function works in the real life scenarios.
because we have to penetrate those things one by one. See, you can see the application which is running, but the most important part is the countermeasures. You have to provide a proper step by step so an attacker cannot get access to the server side. Never run any services as root unless really required, especially for web, database, and file servers. Because through that application, an attacker simply gain access to the server without any permissions over there.